So today I'm teaching you a new form. It is called point slope form. And point slope form, I think, is one of the most useful yet most underrated forms. People don't think about point slope form very much, but it's very, very useful. It is called point slope form because it involves a point and a slope. Shouldn't take a genius to figure out that, right? Now, you will be given a point and the slope, and you need to write the point slope form. Now, the x value from your point goes right here, and the y value from your point goes right here. This will stay a y, this will stay an x, and this is where we plug in our slope. Okay? It's very easy to go from point slope to other things. I'm not exactly sure what she's doing there, so I'm going to skip that part. You need to memorize this formula. Okay? So what I have highlighted here is what you need to memorize. Okay? Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Okay? So, if I need to write a slope, make it so you can see the slope there, or see the equation. Here's the point that the line goes through, and here's the slope. So if I plug this into the formula says y minus, what's the y value from the point? 3, equals, what's the slope? Negative 7/4, parentheses, x minus, what's the x value from the point? Oh. Negative 4. What's minus a negative? That's my equation. Whoa. That's it.
Whoa. Power outage.
Did it blink?
That's amazing.
So it is a very simple form to get an equation really quick.
Wait, is that the answer?
That's why it's boxed. Okay? So what about this guy right here? I would do y minus what? Minus negative 3 means it's going to become a plus 3 equals negative 7/4 times x what? Minus 4. That's my equation.
Wow.
Okay? Slope undefined. Oh, shoot. Slope undefined. What do we know about a slope undefined? What kind of line is that? It's a perfectly vertical line, right? And a vertical line is in the form what? X equals something, right? Because it's going to cross through your x-axis at some point. So it's x equals something. So I really can't follow this. It's just going to be x equals something. Well, what's the x value of my point? 5. So the equation of that line is just x equals 5.
Do we just have to write it down?
What do you mean, do you just have to write it down?
We don't have to write down the equation.
Write the point slope form of the equation with the given slope. Okay. What about this? Why don't you try this one? Write the point slope form of that line that goes through that point and that slope. What would my equation be? Y minus negative 3 would become plus 3 equals negative 1/3 parentheses x minus a negative 2 would become plus 2. That's it. Okay? Now, write the point slope form of the equation of the line through these 2 points. Now, what's tricky is, on a test, you may see the 2 points and you might start doing what we did yesterday and give me an answer in y equals mx plus b form. Well, y equals mx plus b form is not point slope form. What is y equals mx plus b?
Y-intercept form.
Slope intercept, because it has the slope and a y-intercept. It does not have a point and the slope. Now, first thing I do, though, here is I do have to find the slope the same way I did yesterday. So I have to do 2 minus negative 5 over 4 minus 5. And what does this give me? 7 over negative 1 or negative 7. Now, point slope form, there are 2 correct answers. I can use this point and say y minus a negative 5 becomes y plus 5 equals negative 7 times x minus 5. That is a correct answer. Or if I use this point right here, I can say y minus 2 is equal to negative 7 times x minus 4. Now, why are there 2 correct answers?
Because there's two points.
There's actually a lot of points in a line. Those 2 equations end up being the same thing. Let me show you. If I were to transfer this to y equals mx plus b form, bear with me a minute. Y plus 5 equals negative 7x plus 35. Yes? And I would move this 5, minus 5. And that gives me y equals negative 7x plus 30. Really quick to go from point slope form to slope intercept form, isn't it? Does this one go to that same equation? If I have y minus 2 equals negative 7x plus 28, what am I going to do? I'm going to add 2. Y equals negative 7x plus 30. Isn't that what I got on the other side? Negative 7x plus 30, negative 7x plus 30. It ends up being the exact same equation. Okay? So you can write it with either point, it doesn't matter. Make sense? Okay? Why don't you write the equation in point slope form for number 7? So let's see, 2 minus 4 over 0 minus 5. Negative 2 over negative 5 becomes positive 2/5. So I could write y minus 4 equals 2/5 times x minus 5. Or y minus 2 equals 2/5. What's x minus 0?
X.
It's just x, isn't it? So I wouldn't put x minus 0, I would just put x. So that's the other way of writing. Okay? If that doesn't make sense to you, that x minus 0 thing becoming x, then use the point that doesn't have a 0 in it. It'll just keep it easier. All right, number 8. I have a picture. I need to write the equation in point slope form. Over here, it tells me how to do that. First off, circle an easy point. What do we mean by an easy point? Crosses grid lines, right? So I would say here, negative 2, negative 2. You okay with that? Right there, crosses grid lines, right?
Yeah.
Circle a second easy point. How about that one? 0, negative 2. Can I find the slope after circling those two? Wouldn't it be rise 1, run 2? So what's the slope? 1/2. So I know the slope. I have 2 different points to choose from as far as writing the equation, right? Technically, I have a ton of different points to choose from as far as writing the equation. I'm just going to use this first one that I picked. So y minus negative 2 will become y plus 2 equals 1/2 times x minus negative 2, which again will become plus 2. Easy peasy? Okay, let's turn to the back side. All right, why don't you try 10, 12, and 13? 11's just the instructions for number 10. So you try 10, 12, and 13, and then we'll do some graphing. All right, so I'm going to pick a point, and then another point. I can tell my slope is 2 over 1. And if I use one of these points, if I use the point, let's see, 2, negative 1, that would be y minus negative 1, and then x minus 2. That would be my equation. Now, to tell if your equation is correct, let's go to y equals mx plus b form, and we should have the same thing, right? So if I say y plus 1 equals 2x minus 4, and I subtract 1, I get y equals 2x minus 5. As long as whichever point you plugged in here becomes y equals 2x minus 5 in slope-intercept form, then your answer is correct also. Okay? All right, this one, what's the slope? Anybody? Negative 1. I'm going to pick a point. Let's say I do this one. That's the point negative 3, 0. So y minus 0. What's y minus 0? So I'm just going to say y equals slope times x minus negative 3. And again, if you put yours in y equals mx plus b form, you should get negative x minus 3. As long as yours simplifies to negative x minus 3, you have a correct answer also. Okay? Again, why are there multiples? Because you could have picked so many different points on there. So as long as yours gets to the same place mine does, you're good. Okay? All right, what's my slope here? If I pick 2 points. Rise 3, run 2. So what's my slope? 3 over 2. Okay. Let's say I pick this one. Negative 2, 0. Again, that would be y minus 0, which is just y, equals 3 halves times x minus a negative 2. Becomes plus 2. So that's what I get. If I put this in slope-intercept form, I have 3 halves x plus 3 halves times 2 happens to be 3. As long as yours gets to that, you have a correct answer also. Okay? Questions there? Okay. Now let's graph from slope-intercept form. I'm sorry, point-slope form. What is the point here that was used to write this equation? What's the x value of the point? Well, the x value would be in here with the x. It wasn't 7. It was negative 7, right? And over here, if this is a plus 4, it was negative 4. I can plot that on the graph, can't I? Crikey, I can't, can I? Negative 7, negative 4. I'm going to pretend that my graph is big enough that I can. That would be right here, correct? It's just 1 off. That's not bad. I know the slope is what? 2. So can I go up 2 and over 1 from there? And now I'm on my graph. Can I go up 2 and over 1 from there? And let's give a third point on my graph just so that we're good. So in other words, you're kind of treating that point the same way you treated your y-intercept when we graphed in y equals mx plus b form. Now, I don't want you getting a ruler out until you have 3 points that are actually on the grid lines. You can use one off the grid lines to get you to the graph, but use the ruler to follow the ones on the grid lines. Because if you use the ruler on ones that are just estimated, then you end up killing 2 zombies when you only wanted to kill 1, right? Depends on what your goal is. All right, what's the point here? X value would be, Y value would be positive 4, right? It's the opposite sign in both of those. Negative 5, 4. Yay, that one fits. What's my slope? Negative 3. So what am I going to do from there? Down 3, right 1. Down 3, right 1. Get your ruler out. Draw your lines. And there you go. By the way, tomorrow we're going to be graphing from point slope form and killing zombies. Okay? Figured that'd be appropriate for Halloween. Yes? Why do we switch the signs? Because if you remember, the formula was a minus. So when we did minus a negative, it became a plus. So for example, up here, when I had y minus -1, it became y plus 1 because minus a negative was a plus. So when I see y plus 1, I need to remember it was a negative number. Okay? And the same reason goes, I had a positive number, it was a minus in the parentheses, but then it was originally positive. So you have to change those signs for that. Okay? All right, you try the last two problems. Go ahead and graph those. All right, what's the point here? What's the x value? And the y value? 2. Okay. 5, 2. And the slope is what? 2/3. So I need to go up to, I can't go over 3 and remain on my grid, can I? I know that the point would end up here. So let me think backwards and think what point was before this one. In other words, what point went up to and right 3? Up to and right 3. Well, how am I going to find that? I'm going to go down 2 and left 3. So down 2, left 3. That's the point that went up 2 and right 3 to get to here. Yeah? Can I do that one more time? Down 2, left 3. And we had to do that before with our slope-intercept. Do you see how, now mine looks pretty close, but that would have been hard to identify as y-intercept from. So sometimes point slope is actually more helpful. All right, what's my point here? 1, -4. 1, -4. And what's my slope? -2/5. So that's down 2. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can only fit one more. Where would I find the other point? Up to left 5. Because that follows in line with what I've got here, right? Draw my line in. And I'm good to go. Questions? All right. Here comes your homework. Happy studying.